Evans just throws it up. Thielen is down there, and Thielen, it's intercepted. Amani Hooker has the ball, and that will do it.
And that's the bottom line. 'Cause Stone Cold said so.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Run and Shoot podcast. I believe we just discussed this is episode number 13. Ryan here, joined by my co-host Chuck. How's it going today, Chuck?
It's going pretty good, man. Number 13. It's hard to believe that we're already past that, man.
Time flies when you're having fun, Chuck.
Oh, we're having a blast, man. Speaking of which, we've got a ton to talk about. I just pray that we have enough time during the show to get it all talked about. But, man, what a weekend it's been. We had the SEC kickoff, their season.
So the college football season officially started now that real football teams are playing.
Well, to me and you, it officially started. I mean, we live in Tennessee, and in the South, SEC matters.
SEC matters. It's not often that both of our teams get a win on the same week, right, Chuck?
Well, yeah, absolutely. But, your boys got to win, my boys got to win. We'll talk more about the scores here in a little bit about it.
I think the thing that's on everybody's mind right now, especially today, the 29th, we still don't exactly know all the details. And we don't know for sure that the Titans and the Steelers are going to play this week.
Yeah, that's true. Folks, if you're just tuning in about it, the Titans have confirmed 8 tests of COVID-19.
Was it 3 players, 5 staff members?
3 players, 5 staff members. I think 2 of them were from the practice squad as far as the players go. Daquan Jones was one of those players going on the list. So that sucks. As a Titans fan, that just absolutely sucks. I hate it. But, the NFL has just come out and said, we knew this was going to happen. This is nothing new. That gives me hope because I think the show's going to go on regardless.
But it's weird. So they're shutting Tennessee down until Saturday. They said Minnesota's shutting down. I don't know are they shut down until Saturday too? I don't know if that's.
I'm not sure, but I think they're really taking it on us though because we had the positive test.
But that means we can't practice until Saturday, or even I don't know if that's through Saturday or if we can start practicing on Saturday. I would imagine is what that means. But Pittsburgh's going to be practicing.
That is true. The NFL did come out today, and this is according to Adam Schefter, that the NFL has told them it's business as usual, practice like they're playing. Now, as for the Titans, they cannot be in the facility, nobody, not the coaches, players, or anybody, until Saturday. So it takes a little. It's interesting because it's going to be challenging if we do go on Sunday and play. They have also said the worst case scenario is possibly playing on a Monday night.
I mean, I'm cool with that too. Throw another primetime game in there. I think this team responds well on with that spotlight. I'm just hoping that this isn't this can of worms opening up now. And I'm surprised. Why do the Titans have to be that first team in the NFL that may have to delay some of this stuff? It's just I have so many questions.
Well, man, I know. I mean, we'll talk about more about the Titans game, which we won 31-0 over Minnesota. So we're 3-0. We've got momentum, and then all of a sudden this happens, man. It's devastating to me because if we don't get to play Sunday, which we sound like we are, it's going to kill that momentum.
No, you're right. And, players should be in pretty good shape by this point, but there's still a lot that goes on through the week. They said they're going to do a lot of the game planning and going through all the walkthroughs virtually. You can't go through those training exercising and things like that. We know, nobody's worried about Derrick Henry.
Nobody's worried about Derrick Henry.
He's probably out lifting cars right now, curling them out in his parking lot. But some of these other guys, everybody's got to hold themselves accountable to be doing all those things to keep their body ready to play in the NFL, and that's easier said than done.
Especially when the secondary, we had a pretty awful game in the secondary over the weekend, And we're going to need as much rep as we can because the receiving core that's coming in next week for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I mean, you got Juju Smith-Schuster, including Deontay Johnson. And those two right there alone are a receiving tandem that's pretty damn good. And then also you got Connor in the backfield that can run the ball well, and not to mention Big Ben slinging that thing around. I mean, we're going to need as much repetition as we get.
I mean, I like our chances going into the game whenever it's played, but, Big Ben, he's lit us up a few times before.
He sure has, and but we've had Pittsburgh's number here lately. I think we've won the last about 2 meetings that we had. I think the last meeting we had was on a Thursday night thriller. I think we won by a field goal. But goes to say, though, that Pittsburgh is about as big as a rival than any that we have in the NFL. I mean, if you look at rivalries, I mean, obviously Indianapolis is one of them. Baltimore is one of them. But Pittsburgh, to me, is the biggest rival that we have as far as, like, the NFL. So it's a very important week. We're both undefeated. We're starting to get leg up in our conferences, in our divisions. So, I mean, it's a very big pivotal week as far as, like, proving ourselves if we are truly contenders or we've been walking a fine line when we're fixing to fall off the line. We're going to see. But let's talk about the Titans game real quick. I mean, as I said, we won 31-30, and it looked like we were starting off promising, and man, went off the rails real quick in about the middle of first half all the way to about middle of second half. The boys finally calmed down a little bit. The experience showed a little bit, and then Derrick Henry in the second half started to get going. But I don't know, man. It's just we're playing with fire, in my opinion, but I'm glad that we have a team. When it gets to 2 minutes, Ryan, we know how to close it.
Yeah, I mean, they're showing a lot of moxie in some of these spots where their back's against the wall, but you don't want to see them with their backs against the wall so often. They came out, like you said, they moved the ball pretty well, but couldn't finish drives. Settled for field goals, and every time we kick a field goal after week 1, I'm nervous as all hell because Gostkowski's a proven pro, but he missed a lot of field goals, and he's not let it get to him. It looks like he's gone out and probably just been kicking field goals any chance he gets, getting the reps in. I think they said he's not wearing a sock on the kicking foot now, and that's become a tradition, so I hope he keeps nailing them like that because, I mean, he looked like the best kicker in the NFL on Sunday.
I mean, 6 field goals, man, that does a lot, but here's the thing I have a problem with. If I'm going to talk about the 2 first drives. Like I said, we moved the football. We looked good doing it. I mean, we were passing well. Henry seemed like he was getting some holes to make some 5-6 yard gains.
Slow and steady.
But slow and steady. But the problem is 2 field goals. Now, if we would have for example, the first field goal, I understand on the first drive. You're getting your feet wet. You get some points. All right, you're feeling good. But the defense gets you a turnover. You get in deep Viking territory. To me, you need to cash in a touchdown.
So you would have went for it there?
I would have went for it. I'm surprised Vrabel didn't went for it.
But, I mean, there is an argument to be said. We needed every single one of those points.
We do, but to me, if you really want to break a back on a team that is struggling like the Vikings, that, to me, would have broke their back. Because if you're already up 10-0 on a team that's struggling to get the ball down the field, which Sunday they didn't, but to me, being down 6-0 is better being down 10-0.
No, you're right. And it's easier to look back on it now with the win to say those things. But, I'm not so worried about breaking their back as much as I am getting that dub. That's what we did. So it is tough to say because there's so many times in the past we're looking at some of these guys that you're like, you got to take the points. You got to take the points. It looked like Jeff Fisher was coaching this team on Sunday with all the field goals that we took. But you know what? Vrabel may have made the right call on a lot of those plays because there was some – look, Arthur Smith's doing a great job. There was a couple of sequences, though, that I was like, what kind of crazy plays is this dude running? When we threw some of those end-arounds with Adam Humphries.
Absolutely.
And I like getting the guy involved, but I don't think that's the way to do it. He's not the quickest guy on the field, and maybe you're trying to catch people off guard, but let's get away from some of those plays and get a little bit more creative with some other stuff.
It's like I said, I wish that we would have just kept with Henry because Henry was starting to set in on that team. They were starting to get wore out. And then, we've always said by the fourth quarter, your body's tired. You're going to start making some business decisions as far as how you're going to tackle Derrick Henry. And, man, he was starting to gash him 10, 11, 8. I mean, he was starting to get that mojo running. And next thing you know, then you get those silly end arounds and these pass plays on first down to stop the clock. I mean, didn't like Minnesota get the ball back with like 1:40 left? That's a lot of time left in the NFL. I don't care what offense you have, but 1:40 with a 1-point lead, that's plenty of time.
I was worried. That last sequence was the most questionable of the entire game because you think, all right, we're getting close to field goal range. I thought we would run it on first and second down at least, keep the clock moving, try to get that first down on the ground. That's where those crazy exotic plays started coming in, and I was like, what are we doing here, guys?
Stick to the basics. Stick to the basics.
Sometimes, the KISS method, right? Keep it simple, stupid. And you got to tell yourself that in a lot of these high-pressure situations, you don't want to get too crazy with it. But, you mentioned Derrick Henry, slow and steady. But, 26 for 119, 2 touchdowns. His longest run, 16 yards. But, he's getting it done.
That's what I'm saying, 29 carries. The man was giving them a beating by late third quarter to the fourth quarter. That's what makes Derrick Henry special. This dude, you may be stopping him, but because you're fresh. But by fourth quarter, you're beat up, you're tired. But this man ain't. This man is about to get even hungrier and make you pay for it. That's what makes Derrick Henry special. That's why I have an issue with the play calling in the fourth quarter. You got to continually give your horse the ball. Feed your horse. Let him take you home. I get it. You want to get a little cute every now and again. But the Seahawks got cute in the Super Bowl one time against the New England Patriots. Thought it'd be a little exotic, throw a little slant pass. But Malcolm Butler robbed them of a Super Bowl ring because it goes back to play calling. I may have maybe poked fun at the Seahawks a little bit, but it comes back to what I said. But the difference is we got the W. We just need to take better care of the football. I think we had like a turnover against Tannehill. I think had an interception. I don't think we had any fumbles. But don't get cute. Let's not get cute. We got the 3-0 by being gritty, running the football, running some excellent play action. I think we're one of the better play action teams in the league, Ryan. We have to be.
Well, for sure. That's part of the game plan. Derrick Henry pounds it, and those 2-yard to 5-yard runs end up paying off when, those linebackers got to start getting tired of chasing that guy down and bringing down a hoss like that. And then they start creeping in the box and trying to help out. You catch him off guard with that play action. And Ryan Tannehill is really good as far as a play action quarterback.
It's perfect.
He sells it great, and you have to respect Derrick Henry. You don't want to be you don't want to look like the Jaguars on the other side of one of those 99-yard runs where everybody's getting juked and You don't want to end up like Earl Thomas, who nobody wants any piece of him. Earl Thomas is just defeated, man. And he was a great player prior, but rest in peace, Earl Thomas. His career's broken now because, he tried to tackle Derrick Henry in the open field.
Well, it was more like being a lead blocker for him because I think Henry had him behind the jersey. Go, Thomas, block for me, buddy.
Come with me, little guy.
Come with me, little guy. I'll take you to the promised land. Ryan, you want to jump into some opening drive? We're going to go ahead and into the NBA news. We had some clinchers. L.A. closed out Denver. It breaks my heart because I kind of wanted to see Denver do something. But it is what it is. L.A. goes on. The Lakers are going to the finals. LeBron will go to his 10th final, which is a cool accomplishment. But at the same time, how many rings has he got? He's got 3.
But 10th time, man. 10th time in the finals, and he's carried most of those teams there.
True.
Let's be honest. And so he's heading for the 10th time. Only 3 other players have been to the finals 10 times. Guess who's not on that list, Chuck? Ready for this?
Go ahead.
So not on that list, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson. Also not on that list. Only 3 other players in the history of the NBA have been to the finals 10 times. Any idea who those people may be, Chuck?
I know Bill Russell's one.
Yep, Bill Russell.
And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, I think, right?
You got that right. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. 2 ones that are pretty obvious, right? Another one that may not be so obvious other than to the basketball junkies, the basketball traditionalists. Good old Sam Jones. Sam Jones.
He was a Celtic, wasn't he?
Celtic, yep. Went and won 10 NBA titles from 58 to 66, 67 through 69.
It's a lot of rings right there, buddy. It's a
A lot of rings. But, I mean, think about that. When you put that into perspective, this is his 10th trip, man. 10 trips to the NBA Finals for any player, especially a guy that drug a few of those teams early on there. Still, even in Cleveland, he had some help there, the Kyrie year especially. But, man, I bet it was even more trouble having to deal with Kyrie being the head case that he was and handling that whole fiasco.
True.
And, man, the year prior to them winning it, the first time against Golden State in the finals, have we ever seen a better player in the finals? For a whole series, LeBron was ungodly in that.
He was, but it just goes back to what I said. I think he's starting to realize it. You're going to have a supporting cast. He has it this time around. He's got AD, he's got Kuzma. You know, that's just two players off the top of my head that I know are stellar athletes on that court with LeBron. But here's the thing. LA's not going to get it handed to him in this championship finals. The other team that will be facing off with LA will be the Miami Heat. So we got Jimmy Buckets completing a 4-2 series win over the Boston Celtics. Many people had the Boston Celtics pegged as one of the favorites to win the Eastern Conference Finals. But however, Miami, against all odds, is going to the finals. And Ryan, what a finals this is going to be. Eric Spoelstra will be facing off against LeBron. And you got Jimmy Buckets playing against LeBron. Tyler Hero. I mean, Djokovic. That's going to be a matchup. Djokovic and AD.
I mean, and when you think about this, too, you look at the matchups because obviously, you know, the two best players in the finals playing for the Lakers, right? Most likely LeBron, AD. But when you look at those next couple of guys, and as far as when you look at the third best player, fourth best player, fifth best player, all the way down the list, and you just look at the overall depth, I like the Heat's roster a whole lot better when you look at those matchups.
True, and it's just the depth is really picking up the slack. I love where LA is going. I've kind of had that feeling since the Bucks series, like this team has got it. They're very dangerous. They've got it figured out as far as chemistry and letting Jimmy Buckets lead. You know, they're not taking offense of what Jimmy does because you know Jimmy's a fierce competitor on that court. And then when you get that man, if you buy into what he's doing, and then you add Eric Spoelstra's knowledge as a basketball coach, I mean, to me, there's a lot of good storylines. Like Jimmy Buckets versus LeBron is obviously the one. To me, the most interesting one, this is Eric Spoelstra's first finals without a LeBron, Bosh, or Wade. So this is his finals to prove that I can win a championship without a big three. And I think that's a cool storyline there.
Here's a question. How many championships do you think LeBron would have now if he would have stayed in Miami?
Oh, he would have had
and
probably
played with Spoelstra. Like, do you think it speaks more to the fact that, look, Spoelstra may be a lot better than a lot of people gave him credit for in those early years in Miami as the head coach?
Yeah, I mean, they would have won probably about 3 more.
Three more, you think?
3 more at
So,
least.
you know, Bosh was having the issues with the clotting and stuff. He may not have got to play. D-Wade would have played a little bit longer, but you got to think there would have been another star, or there would have been some other folks they could have brought down there. I mean, the Shabazz Napier pick, that was what LeBron's pick. Said it was like one of his favorite draft picks, one of the favorite draft prospects of all time. Turned out to not be so great, and he bailed on him as soon as they picked him and went back to Cleveland. But
right.
I would like to think that if he stayed with the Heat, playing with Spoelstra, playing in that system, and playing with whoever may have ended up being down there, he probably would have more rings now. I don't know how many more. I would think probably more.
It would have been like the Chicago Bulls of the South Beach, man. I mean, they would have had 6. I think they would have had 6.
Yeah.
Because, and also that, you got to think, Pat Riley's there, he would have got anything LeBron would have asked him. I mean, because for a while there, they were good friends. He knew that in order for LeBron to get his championship rings, he had to put talent around him and talent that he trusted. So there's that, too.
And what about the Heat, who run a zone defense right now in crunch time? These guys getting it done with a defense that a lot of people say, look, has no place in the pros when it comes to a zone, but they play it so well.
It works.
And, some of those individual matchups that would be exploited typically with a guy like LeBron coming up the floor, you can hide those. because you play the zone.
That's
you know,
perfect.
Throw them in the corner or whatever you got to do, but you can figure those matchups out and double team easier when you play that zone, when you play it as well as the Miami Heat are playing right now. So it's going to be interesting matchups. When we talk about the depth and looking at it, you know, Kyle Kuzma, I would say would probably be the number 3 guy there with LA, and he's not really been there for him. He's not been that number 3 guy. So if he can step up and do that,
Then they'll win it.
they're going to be dominant. And yeah, they could win it in dominant fashion. How many games do you think we get out of this finals, and who do you think wins?
I think LA in 6.
You think LA in 6?
LA in 6.
I think I agree with you, Chuck. LA in 6.
It's just too much. I mean, AD's really on another level playing right now. If he continues that and dominates that middle there, I know Jokic is good. He's a good basketball player. He can defend the post. But AD is just right now, he's shooting on the outside. He's getting that middle hard. And, of course, you got to worry about LeBron. But like you said, if Kuzma and some of these role players really pick up, the series could be even over before that.
Dwight Howard, if he decides, man, look, this is the last chance I have.
Oh, gosh.
I got to get me a ring. You know, he's not played bad.
He's not played bad. I mean, he's played a good role. But it's, to me, I think the LA in 6. You agree with that?
I think so, and it's hard for me to root against LA or either one of these teams. I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm not a LeBron hater. I do like Jimmy Butler and what they have going. It's the fun thing in Miami, and it would be fun to see them win it. But I do want to see LA win it just because of Kobe.
Well, I want to see Eric Spoelstra win it because kind of like proving like I am an elite coach and I don't need a once-in-a-generation talent.
Well, and we all know you hate LeBron James as it is.
I don't hate LeBron James, man. I just point out the facts. How many rings does he have out of the 10? He's been a first loser 7 times. Well, excuse me, 6 times because we got the 10th one. It'll decide if he'll be the first loser or first
Remember what I shared with you on Twitter earlier, though? And
Right.
they showed, and a lot of people probably saw this, CBS Sports had tweeted this out earlier, and it shows NBA superstars at the age of 35, which is how old LeBron James was last year, right?
Right.
Is this year. My apologies. Michael Jordan at 35 retired. Larry Bird was limited to 45 games. He retired at the end of that season. Shaquille O'Neal, that was the year he was traded to Phoenix, averaged 13.6.
Oh, gosh.
Wilt Chamberlain at 35, 14.8 points per game, which was the lowest in his career to that point. He kept playing. But LeBron James, at age 35, headed to his 9th NBA Finals in 10 years.
Impressive.
I mean, what can you say?
I can talk a little trash about the guy, but I'm not trying to knock off his accolades. I mean, I don't like his attitude sometimes. It is what it is, but
And
he
some
might
of those
not
teams
like
he lost to, you remember Dirk's team of destiny. You know, there was
he should have had a ring there.
I thought they were winning that first year for sure.
They had to. I mean,
They had things going, but the talent like evaporated from them in that a couple of those clutch situations right there. You know, in that game, and Dirk was not going to be denied. Some of those shots that Dirk was putting in, those faders, were just
killer.
ridiculous.
They were killers. And then also, if J.R. Smith didn't screw up game 1, they might have had some momentum to make that a series.
Oh my goodness! I can't wait to see how J.R. Smith maybe
I
screws
love
up one
that.
of these games in the
I
finals.
love that. That just cracks me up. He's just sitting there like, oh crap, I really screwed up. You don't see J.R. Smith anymore after that.
What about all those memes where they were talking about, like they had the J.R. Smith where he looked stoned in some of the pictures, and they were talking about how he's looking at LeBron when LeBron finds out he's the one that sold Bronny that weed.
Oh, that's good stuff. That's what memes are made for, man. That's what they're made for.
Here's a little fun fact for you too, Chuck.
Go for it.
So did you know that there's never been a player in the NBA that wore the number 69 on their jersey?
Really?
I didn't know. I saw this, and I was like, there's has to be somebody. But when I look it
Yeah.
up, apparently no. The number 69, I don't know if it's just something that they're not allowing a player to have. They say, though, Dennis Rodman tried to get the number 69 when he went to the Mavericks in his career. Wouldn't let him have it, so he wore 70.
Oh, come on. That number's fit for like a good charismatic guy that's hilarious. Like if Grunk played in the NBA, I could see him
He would definitely request the
at
number
69. He
69.
would. I love when he's like, yeah, number 69, and he just laugh. It's freaking hilarious. But also in a little more NBA news outside the finals, the the Clippers have decided to make a major change. Doc Rivers will be no longer a Clippers coach. So this is a big move. You know, apparently I guess they're tired of being second fiddle. They want to go further. And I guess the talent that they have, and I guess they thought Doc Rivers screwed it up enough, so they canned him, and he's a free agent on the market. So, Ryan, where do you got Doc going?
I don't know, and I'm also simultaneously wondering who's going to fill the position there with the Clippers.
It's going to be a big shoes because Doc built that team back up. You know, when he first got there, they were mediocre at best. I mean, yes, they just got Blake Griffin, but then when he got there, he groomed that team, built that team, brought Chris Paul in, and, of course, he was one of the factors to bring Kawhi Leonard in. You know, he's done some things there with the Clippers to make them irrelevant at least. But I don't know, Ryan. I really don't know who's going to really take that position. D'Antoni.
I mean, what if, Doc Rivers, what if he goes to Philly? Do you think he could go to Philly out there and fill that job? Or, I don't know what he wants to do necessarily. I mean, he could go to the Pacers, potentially,
Houston?
like you said. I don't know, though. As far as, we'll see how that would go. I mean, the Pelicans' job's open, too.
Philly's intriguing because he goes back into the Eastern Conference and would have to play Boston a lot, his old team.
It would be intriguing, and I think that would be
intriguing.
one high on the list when you get a Ben Simmons, you get Joel Embiid, some of those guys, you get to figure out how to make that work.
Well, I mean, maybe trade off Simmons because he's been trash here lately, man.
I don't know.
We'll see, but Doc is a free agent, and I'm pretty sure he's going to get a job real quick unless he decides to just take a year off. But we'll see. Hey, Ryan.
Hey.
We had we got a Stanley Cup champion. I forgot all about that, man. Not trying to take a shot at the NHL, but it just literally popped up on my news feed yesterday, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, it's already over?
I was like, oh, shit. Yeah, that's right. They were still playing hockey.
I forgot about
north.
Well, after the Preds got beat, I'm going to admit, I stopped watching.
Yeah, so the Lightning won it, though. Tampa Bay beats Dallas in 6 to win the 2020 Stanley Cup. They were the number one seed this year, number one seed last year, and I think I saw this earlier today. They were eliminated in the first round last year, you remember, in the first time that a team has been the number one seed that was eliminated the year prior in round one that went on to win the finals the following season. First time since like the 60s or something like that.
Right. And you know they're going to be saying, hey, no asterisk here. We'll take it. A win's a win, right?
Take them however we can get them. And Tom Brady down there also wondering, how do you do parades with all the social distancing? Good question, right?
You can't. I mean, unless you do like, you see what WWE's doing. I know I'm getting off topic. They're doing like this Thunderdome thing. Like there's they got all these little screens around the whole entire arena, and it's actual fans from home watching.
Yeah, like the NBA's doing. They just do it on a bigger scale, right?
It's big. I mean, it fills up the whole arena almost.
But when it comes to a parade in Florida, it's Florida. They don't give a shit. They're going to parade. They're going to party.
Well, yeah. I mean,
you'll get hockey fans.
Hockey fans, and how does hockey fans work in hot weather? That just don't seem right to me. I mean, I know we're a hot weather city too, but
I mean, Anaheim, you got them all over the country.
Tampa Bay's got to be happy about something. I mean, they won a championship since.
Yeah, they got this thing called refrigeration.
I guess so. But let's go ahead and talk about another postseason that's kicking off. That's actually more exciting to us. But like I said, no disrespect to the NHL. We got some Major League Baseball postseason action about to kick off, Chief. I'm really excited about that.
That's right. Kicked off today as far as that goes, MLB playoffs. And we're going to be jumping into some big matchups here as far as when you look at the AL side, you got Tampa Bay, you got Toronto there. Chuck, who do you pick to win that one?
I'm going to go with Tampa Bay. I think they take care of business.
Tampa Bay in that one? I mean, I'll agree with you. I haven't watched a ton of both of these teams, but just looking at statistics, looking at the rosters, looking at tradition, we're going to see, look, Tampa Bay, going to be hungry. Who knows if they're going to end up moving that team eventually anyways. But yeah, I would think Tampa Bay there. Now, you've also got Cleveland, New York. New York, been favorite for a while now, but they're going to face some real tough pitchers.
That's why I'm saying this is a good matchup. I mean, you got the Cleveland pitchers versus these bats in New York, man. They are. Although,
right now, Chuck, game one, bottom of the 7th, Yankees up 11-2.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The Yankees bats have been pretty hot. They're coming back up. I mean, as we know, they had that little dip in midseason, but now they're starting to get that hot streak again. Everybody's coming off injury, man. And now this Yankee team could be making some noise. I'm going to say Yankees in this one.
Yeah, I mean, the Yankees are definitely going to win this series, in my opinion. And not just looking, but yeah, I mean, so far through one, 11-2, bottom of the seventh. I don't see the Yankees blowing this lead. I've seen crazier things. Now, you also have the Twins going to be taking on Houston.
The Cheetahs.
Nobody wants to see Houston do anything, although it would be ironic if you saw them end up going to the finals against, like, L.A., and L.A. just puts the smack down on them for a little payback.
That would be justice right there if that did happen. But it's not going to happen. The Twins have played really well. Like I said,
Astros took game one.
did they take game one?
4-1.
I'm still going to go Minnesota. I've got to go with Minnesota.
Also, the Oakland Athletics against the Chicago White Sox. And game one today, 4-1, White Sox take the 1-0 series lead in that one. Do you see the White Sox closing that one out?
I still got the A's.
I think so, too. I'd go Oakland in that one. Moving on to the NL, what about if we just take a quick look at this L.A. matchup with Milwaukee? Do you think Milwaukee even stands a chance?
Sorry. It's going to be a sweep. L.A. wins.
L.A. wins.
Yeah, bats are too hot, man.
I don't see L.A. getting beat, especially when it comes to round one. Also, San Diego, Slam Diego, they've called it many times this year, against the St. Louis Cardinals.
Good matchup here. You got a team that's been in the playoffs constantly with St. Louis, and you got this new team that's on the block, man, the Slam Diego. It's going to be close, I think. I think we're going to see a tight series. I'm going to say San Diego.
All right. I agree, too. I like everything that's going on in San Diego. They've invested heavily. We talked about at the trade deadline, historic, trade deadline for these guys. They went for the bag, and
they did.
I think they're going to get past the Cardinals in round one. The Cubs play Miami, and their round one matchup. How do you think that one plays out?
I'm going to pick the upset here. Miami. Miami's been getting hot here lately. Chicago's been kind of stale. And I think it carries over. I think Miami takes it in a close series.
Cubs take it, at least round one. And then we get to the series I'm going to be paying the most attention to. Game one tomorrow, Atlanta Braves, Cincinnati Reds. And around here, in Middle Tennessee, we don't yet have an MLB team. Looks like Justin Timberlake and some teams about to try to bring an expansion team to Nashville. But traditionally, and growing up, I was born and raised an Atlanta Braves fan.
Right. And I feel like the whole state of Tennessee is going to be watching this game because I think it's been the state of Tennessee's connection to the Major League Baseball is the Braves.
Well, and I say there's a couple of teams that if you're in Tennessee, usually you see a lot of these fan bases. A lot of Reds fans here, too.
A lot of Cubs.
Cincinnati's close, too. Cubs fans are a little bit of everywhere. They're transplants, and they just won a championship. There's a lot of bandwagon fans there, too. But a lot of Braves fans here, a lot of Reds fans here too.
Ooh.
And then, every once in a while you'll sprinkle in the Yankees guy or whatever. A lot of Cards fans here too, which I kind of just, I don't get that.
Yeah, my coworker, where I work at, I know a couple people that are Cards fans. Don't make sense to me.
It must just be the McGuire factor for people our age, right?
I guess.
Has
I
to
don't
be.
know. I don't know. But who you got in this one, Ryan?
The Braves, baby.
Braves. You see them manhandling the Cincinnati Reds?
Keep those bats hot, yes. Pitching staff, we've talked about it almost every podcast. Going to have to keep seeing improvements from the pitching staff here because this is where it really matters. But the Braves, look, they got the bats to compete with anybody.
That's what I was about to say. I think the bats at least gets them through this round. But as the rounds go on, whether it be Miami or Chicago, they're going to have to get that pitching going. Maybe this is where it gets started, but if not, I think either way, the bats are going to carry the Braves.
Second, and as far as runs scored this year, 348, one run behind the Dodgers as far as run leaders, throughout the 60-game season. It'll be exciting to see. I can't wait for the playoffs. What we got next there, Chuck?
Oh, man. We had SEC action over the weekend. We kind of talked about our projections and everything, but it actually kicked off. And, man, we got some scores here. I'm just basically going to touch up on SEC because I've been doing, random top 25 the last few weeks. But this is the one I really wanted to get to. I'm going to run through all the 7 games that were played over the weekend of the SEC, and I'm glad it's back. Ryan, you glad it's back?
I love me some SEC football, Chuck.
I've got me some SEC football, boys.
Bring it on.
All right, so the first matchup is the Georgia Bulldogs went down to Fayetteville, Arkansas to play the Razorbacks. The Razorbacks put up a valiant fight in the first half. They actually led in the first half. 7-5 was it at halftime, and then the Dogs put in another quarterback and took the lid off the game, opening up with 22 unanswered, and the rest is history. The final score of that game was Georgia was 37, Arkansas 10. And your boy Felipe Franks kind of had a struggling day. He had about 4 turnovers. But he did have some decent passing yards at 200. But what really set off the game, Ryan, was Stetson Bennett, the redshirt junior out of Georgia. When he got in the second half, he was 20 of 29 with a 69 completion rate of 211 yards and 2 touchdowns. So pretty good right there.
Got in there and got it done.
That's all that matters. So, to me, if Georgia really wants to compete in the East, because the next team I'm going to mention, the Florida Gators. They were pretty much the opener with the Lane Train. They had to go to Oxford and play the Lane Train down there with the Ole Miss Rebels. And I got to say, the Ole Miss Rebels, had a lot of people saying they're going to get killed. Well, the first half was a little bit different story. I agree. It was like 28-14 at halftime. But this offense was just too much, man. The final score on that one was the Florida Gators 51, Ole Miss Rebels 35. Valiant effort, but it just wasn't enough. Kyle Pitts, the tight end for the Florida Gators, man, what a special player he was.
Yeah, he went off too, right?
I mean, not to mention also Kyle Trask had 6 tossing touchdowns in the process, tying Joe Burrow's record against Vanderbilt. So, are we going to probably see a Joe Burrow lock?
I don't
season,
know,
maybe?
man. He had a good season last year, and he's looking to come out hot this year. 6 touchdowns in week 1. And you mentioned 4 of those to Pitts. 8 catches, 170 yards for those 4 touchdowns. Now, you saw Kiffin, your boy, Lane Kiffin.
He ain't
right?
my boy. I don't know what you're
Former
talking about.
Tennessee and USC head coach, also former Raiders coach for just a little while. You may remember that.
Do.
Well, he came from FAU to the Rebels, and that offense – early on, you mentioned looked pretty good. That Matt Corral they've got down there, he can sling the ball around. 22 of 31, 395 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 of those to that Drummond kid. They looked pretty good. I'll tell you what, the coolest thing that Ole Miss brought to the field, those jerseys were fire.
It was called the Icy Blue.
Those things are sweet, man.
They even had the Icy Blue helmets too. Yeah, they were pretty fly.
But they couldn't stop the Gators. This Gators team looks pretty good. The opening week 1, a little bit of a litmus test, as far as with Ole Miss. I don't think you're going to see the true Lane Kiffin Ole Miss team until, obviously he gets a little bit of recruiting in there, his style of player. But I thought Florida looked pretty damn good, and they're number 3 team in the nation right now.
I agreed. They did look pretty crisp. But let's go to a top 25 matchup. And they was the only one in the SEC. It was Kentucky at Auburn. Interesting game. Kentucky gave it a good contest in the first half. There was a questionable touchdown. Did you see that, Ryan, by any chance? The Kentucky player seemed like he was leaned into the end zone, crossed the plane, gets jerked back, and I figured, all right, touchdown. The refs came back and called it back. It was not. It was short. I didn't know. There was evidence there that he crossed the goal line.
It was controversial. It was pivotal
It
as
was
far as the game goes.
And here's the next funny thing. The next play, Kentucky quarterback throws a pick. The Auburn player takes it to the house. Flag on the play. 15-yard targeting play nullifies. I guess they had to make up for the mistake. But anyways, like I said, Kentucky gave it a good game, but Auburn was just too much. The final was Auburn 29, Kentucky 13. So that was a good game.
And Bo Nix, impressive game, right?
He looked good. I mean,
As far as from an Auburn quarterback, 16 to 27, 233, 3 tutties.
3 tutties, man. I mean that's what you need. I mean, it was a tough game in the first half. I think it was like 8-7 at halftime. That was weird. I mean, you saw a lot of unusual scoring, like some safeties. You saw some 2-point conversions, and also Terry Wilson, of Kentucky, also had a decent game. He had 239 yards, 1 passing touchdown. He also run for 42 yards.
He's coming back from a knee injury.
It was a brutal. Last year. It was a brutal knee injury. So that was the only top 25. I want to talk about the upset of the weekend. And Ryan, I called it.
You did call it last week.
I did call it, but I figured we would not see this kind of spectacle out of it. Mike Leach made his coaching debut in Death Valley at Louisiana at Baton Rouge.
And how many people said that Mike Leach offense wouldn't work in the SEC?
A lot of people. I was one of them, because you're going to have to bring your A game instead of just tossing around the pigskin a lot of times. But he proved us wrong, at least for this week.
And who did I say whenever you guys got rid of that last bum you had there coaching Tennessee? And number one, whenever you're like, who would you go after? Who would you go after as far as head coach? And I was like, hey, man, I'd back that money truck up to Mike Leach.
I wanted Leach. If I had to choose between Gundy and Leach, I wanted Leach 10 times out of 10. What a personality he is. But anyways, Mississippi State went on to upset, at the time, number 6 team in the country, the LSU Tigers, 44-34. Impressive debut against the national championship team, even though most of this team was depleted of a lot of starters. The real star of the game, the Mississippi State quarterback, KJ Costello, 36 of 60, 600. That's right, folks. This is not NCAA football video game numbers. This is real life. 623 yards, 5 touchdowns versus 2 picks. Ryan, what a performance.
Against a defending national champion LSU defense. That's impressive.
That is impressive, because everybody's like, well, they were depleted of all the talent. It doesn't make a difference. If you are a national program like LSU is, you don't allow 600 yards like that. That is ridiculous. Maybe it was because they didn't have enough understanding of Mike Leach. You didn't have the tune-up games before the conference play. You make up the excuse all you want, but Mike Leach took advantage of it.
And you had 3 receivers there with Mississippi State over 100 yards. 3
Insane.
receivers with 7 receptions, 183 yards, 8 receptions, 158 yards there for Hill. Peyton with 6 for 122. Just insane the way they spreaded that ball around. And
Bananas.
You see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different players caught a ball there for Mississippi State.
That's what he brings to the table. He knows how to spread out the ball, and everybody's going to get a piece of that pie. But you got to love Mike Leach. And after the postgame, they asked him, how does it feel to beat a top 10 defending national championship team? His response was, well, the Kansas City Chiefs and the New England Patriots were not available, so we had to take LSU. That is vintage Mike Leach. You got to love his swagger, man. Gotta
love Mike Leach, man. Even back when his days of locking Craig James' son in a dark closet on the football field.
God, that's so awesome. What a national treasure he is. But it's going to be interesting to see going forward what they're going to do. But they have made a pretty hard statement to everybody in the SEC. Hey, Mike Leach is here to play ball.
Arkansas not looking forward to that matchup next week with Mississippi State.
And watch them lay an egg, this game. But it's just like, now they got film. We're going to actually see what they do next week. It is Arkansas, but it's the SEC as well.
Hey, man, great coach. There's a great coach out there that left Mississippi State in good hands.
Well, true that. And then we also had a Alabama and Mizzou. And, you got what you expect out of that. Bama came out of the gates. I think they started the first half 28-3. It was a bloodletting of a game. 38-19 the final. Missouri's, and it was not as close as it looks. They scored 13 points. At one point, it was 6-38. So, Brian, we got what we expected out of Bama and Missouri. We knew that Bama was going to come out, no matter who was under center. They could have probably had no quarterback under center. they would still beat the brakes off of Missouri.
No surprise here. Missouri probably already put in the request to get the hell out of the SEC.
I would. Bring Texas in or something. Let's see what happens. But, yeah, I mean, pathetic. It was just a pathetic performance all the way around for Missouri. Good Lord. I mean, the quarterback had negative 35 rushing yards.
Probably means he took a few sacks.
Took a beating.
Offensive line is not looking good on those folks.
I'll tell you, though, Mac Jones, the quarterback of Alabama, looked pretty crisp. 18 of 24, 249 yards, and 2 passing touchdowns. Looked good.
There you go.
Looked good. And Bryce Young, also the talented freshman, actually came out and played for a couple downs and had some rushing and had some passing plays. Either way, it's play time a little bit. You get to come out and play a little bit. So they're grooming up quarterback of the future because I think Mac Jones is a senior. So, I mean, you kind of got to get that guy ready behind you. So that's what that game was. It was just a
tune-up game for Alabama.
All right, let's move on from that tune-up game. Let's talk about probably the 2 most hottest games of the night as far as drama goes. Let's start with Texas A&M and Vanderbilt. A lot of people had Texas A&M as a dark horse in the SEC, so they got Vanderbilt, and they played at Texas A&M. It wasn't like it was in Nashville, which wouldn't have made a difference.
This was a dreadful game, Chuck.
Dreadful game. The final score of this, and yes, you heard correctly, 17 Texas A&M, 12 Vanderbilt. At one point, Vanderbilt held them all first half, 7 points. And Vanderbilt actually got a safety in this game. So, I mean, Vanderbilt put up a valiant effort. Maybe it was the first game jitters of Texas A&M, man. I don't know, but it'd be there. Ryan, is there an excuse that we should make for Texas A&M at this point? I mean, if you're really a contender, you post the ball out like Florida and Bama did.
I mean, it's SEC football. It's college football for that matter. You love to see the parity, and that's what makes these matchups, work out. As far as, look, we've talked several times, as far as what has kept the Commodores head coach in a job for several years, right? How many times has he unpredictably beat your boys? How many times have the balls gone in there and said, look, 100%, we're going to walk right through this. But I'm just giving you one example that rubs you a little bit raw. But one example to show there's parity, man. Look, sometimes you have an Appalachian State beat a Michigan. Sometimes, you have a Vanderbilt actually show up defensively, at least,
right,
and stay in a game. But I don't expect a ton out of Texas A&M this year. I did like what you saw out of the Spiller kid at running back.
Yeah.
He had like a 57-yard run, so that made his stat line look a little bit better with the 8 for 117. But still looked explosive, man. Looks like an athlete back there. I don't know. We didn't see much out of either one of these guys. Not a lot of drop passes, though, from Seals there, Vanderbilt's head coach. Vanderbilt's starting quarterback.
Whoa.
Excuse me. 20 of 29, 150, 1 touchdown. We mentioned not many balls touched the ground because 2 interceptions there as well.
Well, and Kellen Mound was supposed to play well, too. He's supposed to be the veteran starting quarterback coming back for A&M. He didn't have a good game either. I think he only had 189 passing yards and 1 touchdown. This might be a wake-up call. A&M, get your ass in gear because it's not going to get any easier from here on in.
Nah, just a stinker of a game.
Because you know who they got next week? Alabama. You better get it together, and you better get it together quick. And the last game of the night, it was the nightcap game. My boys, Tennessee, played off against Will Muschamp and the South Carolina Gamecocks. Exciting game. It was fun to watch. I felt like we should have won this game by at least 2 touchdowns, but we let South Carolina hang around and made their plays. But in the end, Tennessee got it done, 31-27. A very important win in my eyes because we needed it if we want to keep up with Florida and Georgia.
I feel like this is like the 12th year that Garantano's been the starting quarterback.
I feel like
with
it's
the Tennessee
been forever.
Vols.
I agree.
Why is this guy still around? You got the win here, but he did not look impressive in this game at all.
No, he did not. And it's just at the point, it's like, what else? Who else do we have? I mean,
19 of 31, 259, and a touchdown. No picks. That's the biggest thing for him. He did not throw an interception in the game, but I'm just surprised, man. I feel like that there's recruit after recruit that comes in, and you're just waiting for the next guy to come in there and just do anything better than Garantano because I feel like you're only going as far as that guy can take you.
And he's not going to
I
take
don't
us
trust
far.
that guy any further than I can throw him.
I'm with you. It's just I don't take him far. He is probably the most diverse player as far as as hatred goes. Like our fan base hates his guts, can't stand him. He makes one little hiccup, he gets a bitching. But the running game.
To be fair though, he makes a lot of hiccups. He hiccups a lot.
A lot. But Tennessee's running game actually did pretty well. We had 132 rushing yards on the ground. The offensive line looks good. Don't sleep on South Carolina. The Colin Hill kid played well. He almost had 300 yards passing and a touchdown. But their receiver, Shi Smith, had 10 catches, 140 yards, and a score. Another weapon for them to play with. And South Carolina's defense, of course, is no slouch as well. But our defense, pretty damn awesome. Harrington Toto had an pick six. Bam. But if we keep making plays like that, we're going to make this league very interesting.
Well, and you saw the way that game ended, too. Probably had you a little bit nervous
It did.
Until South Carolina had the special teams mistake there, right?
They pulled a Tennessee.
A nice little final chance there. Tennessee punts with 90 seconds left in the game, and in college football, that's a lot of time.
That is a lot of time.
That's a lot of time.
And the way South Carolina had that momentum, that offense was moving the ball. I was nervous. I was very nervous. But that's it for week one. But we're fixing to get into some week two action. But before we do that, let's talk some NFL, Ryan.
Let's talk a little NFL, Chuck, and go through a quick rundown of some of week two's scores. What do you think?
Let's do it, man. I'm excited.
Starting off, we had Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes taking it to the Ravens on Monday night, our most recent game. Kansas City 34, Baltimore 20 as Pat Mahomes came out, showed Lamar Jackson he was his daddy.
Oh, he was his daddy, indeed.
The two Aarons had a day for the Packers as they edged out the Saints. Green Bay 37, New Orleans 30. Russell Wilson torched the Cowboys secondary for 315 yards through the air, 5 touchdowns, 1 W. Seattle 38, Dallas 31. The Lions snapped their 11-game losing streak against the Cardinals. Detroit 26, Arizona 23. The Atlanta Falcons strike again. They blew a late lead to the Bears, 30-26. Chicago over Atlanta, and rest in peace to Mitch Trubisky's career.
It's over.
MetLife Stadium, a little bit nicer to the 49ers this week. They roll past the Giants and not as many injuries. San Fran 36, New York 9. The Browns beat Washington. First winning record in over a year for Cleveland as Cleveland wins 34-20. Eagles had some pretty bad decision-making going on that led to a tie with the Bengals. Philadelphia 23, Cincinnati 23, ties. Kind of like kissing your sister, Chuck.
It was horrible.
Just weird.
Horrible, man.
Yeah, you played to win the game.
Oh, man. You played to win the game. Man, I wish we had Herm right here. He'd be screaming at him right now.
You play to win the game. Philly had a chance. Decided, look, ties are good enough.
Squat on it.
Cam Newton struggled, but the Pats still battered the Raiders and really didn't even need Cam a ton. New England dominated 36-20 over the Las Vegas Raiders. The Bills nearly botched one to the Rams. Buffalo 35, LA 32. Gostkowski been the savior this year for the Titans after things looked so rough early, but he kicks the Titans over the Vikings with 6 field goals in that game. Tennessee 31, Minnesota 30. The Texans' misery keeps on rolling as they're defeated by the Steelers. Houston 21, Pittsburgh 28. The Panthers got their first win over the Chargers. Carolina 21, LA 16. And the Bucks, the Tampa Bay Bucks, gaining momentum. They bashed the injury-riddled Broncos. Tampa Bay 28, Denver 10. And they keep piling up for those guys. Jarrell Casey out for the year now, too, with a bicep tear.
Jeez.
Yeah, rough news there. The Colts defense dominated the hapless Jets. Indy 36, New York 7. Darnold seeing more ghosts than ever. Also, the beard trumped the mustache as the Fins got their first win of the season over the Jags. Miami 31, Jacksonville 17, both teams fighting to be the worst team in the league. Chuck, what other NFL headlines do we have going on currently?
Well, we just recently found out, as reports said today, the Texans are probably not going to sign Earl Thomas after all.
I think so. I don't know what's going on. It looked like it was a sure thing that he was going to go down there, try out. They were going to sign him with Houston, and Houston needs all the help they can get. And they decided, look, we'll pass.
We'll pass indeed. Now let's talk some fantasy, man. We got our top five fantasy studs and duds for week 3. Ryan, here's how this is going to work. I'm going to do the duds, of the bunch, and you're just going to do the big studs of the week, man. So, Ryan, let's start with the good news. Give me some studs.
You want some fantasy studs? And this is some pretty obvious ones because we've had some folks that are just dominating stat lines. So we mixed in a few, but just the top 5 fantasy studs, I don't know how you don't include Russell Wilson in there. And so I just put him at number 1. Russell Wilson this week, 27 of 40, 315, 5 touchdowns, 22 yards on the ground, got the win. And, needed all of it. The Cowboys brought it too in that game, but Russell Wilson was just on fire. And he has been all year.
You smell that? That's Russ cooking. Oh, that's some good cooking too, man.
Man, I'll tell you what, he's rustling.
He's rustling and bustling, man.
Number 2, Alvin Kamara. Again, no surprise. We saw what he did in prime time. Alvin Kamara, 13 receptions for 139 yards, 2 touchdowns, 58 yards on the ground, but used primarily as a receiver in this game. And without him, Drew Brees has nobody.
He has nobody. Emmanuel Sanders seems like he was getting a little real rhythm, but as far as staying in the game, Kamara was the guy.
Absolutely.
Number
3, Tyler Lockett. 9 receptions, 100 yards, 3 touchdowns. He is, getting tons and tons of work from Russell Wilson. Both those guys, the chemistry, off the charts, man.
Yeah, they've been together for the past 5-6 years. So it's there and it's finally paying off.
Absolutely, it's big ways, especially for fantasy owners. I had both of those guys against you this week, Chuck. How did that go?
You cooked me like a scrambled egg on a hot pan, brother.
That's right, deep fried. Keenan Allen, number 4 on my list. This week, 13 receptions from his rookie quarterback. He caught 13 balls for 132 yards. Had a touchdown to throw on top there. It's a pretty impressive stat line, especially for a guy that I think fantasy owners may be a little bit timid about with the rookie quarterback, but he's a guy that, obviously, with the value you had to take him in the draft, you're probably starting him week in and week out. But a stat line like this, 13 for 132, that's impressive.
That's impressive. And is it more apparent now that Hubert should be the starter now over Taylor? Nothing offense, but
he's the only quarterback on that team that's not been stabbed in the lung with a needle. I think he's the only one that can start currently.
She's cute. Cue the psycho music. Jeez.
How crazy, right?
That's nuts.
Conspiracy. Number 5 on my list. Here's my curveball. How about an individual defensive player?
All right.
And a guy that he's on one of my teams, and so that's why I've definitely noticed so much, but Miles Jack with Jacksonville. When it comes to individual defensive players, you get a lot of points with those tackles.
Yeah, he's been doing awesome.
So what does that mean? Go for players. They're going to have to tackle players all day long. When you're playing in Jacksonville, look, you get to play a lot of defense, right?
A lot
you get
of
to play
defense.
a lot of snaps.
A lot.
Miles Jack, through 3 games, he's averaging 11 tackles a game. And he's had 11 tackles in every single game this year.
Right.
1 sack also in week 1, but I hope he keeps that consistency up. He's been dominant. And look, if Jacksonville ever wants to go ahead and get rid of him too and go ahead and clean house, bring him on down.
Come on down to Nashville. Well, we'll add some more depth to that linebacking core. But I agree with you. Miles Jack, what a talent. He's on the field a lot. And before he got hurt last year, he was on pace to be the lead tackler of the league last year before he hurt his knee.
He's a tremendous player. And you remember coming out of college, he played at UCLA, and he played running back, and he played linebacker. And all those questions about, oh, man, should he be taken in the first round? He's surefire top 5 pick. People get way too crazy about these injuries. I was like, please take a flyer on him. He could easily be a Titan if we would have took a little chance there.
He was a two-way player, absolutely. He was great. I wouldn't have minded had him as a Titan, but didn't work in the cards. Maybe in the future.
No complaints here. You know what? I would much rather see Derrick Henry trucking him all day long, but I'm just saying,
Yeah, it could be the vice versa, But that was some nice, good-looking studs. Boy, let's get to the bad news.
Let's hear the duds.
Ooh, let's get a smell of these turds right now, man. Whew. It's there's some pretty doozies ones here. Let's talk about the one that I thought should have continued his success, Leonard Fournette. As you know, last week came off a 100-yard game. Seemed like, all right, he's starting to take over now. Ronald Jones has lost that job. But all of a sudden, he laid a big egg. Let me tell you how nasty this egg is. 15 rushing yards, 7 receiving yards. Nasty. That's not good, especially coming off an encore like this, and it's just more evident that you cannot trust the Tampa Bay backfield right now. Just too much in flux right now. But let's go on to the other one. Last night, Lamar Jackson. Jeez Louise. I mean, he still had a steady game. I mean, he had a touchdown, but the passing yards was not there. 97 passing yards, 83 rushing yards. And any other quarterback, it'd be an okay day, but at the level of Lamar Jackson, just not getting it done at your QB1, so he's a dud of the week. Here's another one. Mike Evans, and everybody gave me the little eyebrow on this, including you, Ryan. He did have 2 touchdowns, but that's it. He only had 2 catches, 2 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Hard to include him, though, on your fantasy duds with 2 touchdowns. But, yeah, 2 receptions, 2 touchdowns. But, look, he was also a guy on that same team against you this week, Chuck, and he paid off. Look, if you're only going to catch 2 balls, as long as they're for 2 touchdowns, do whatever you want to do.
To me, though, as the level of play that Mike Evans is as a wide receiver 1, you're expecting at least 5-6 catches, 100 yards, and including those 2 touchdowns.
It's still a bit of a weird offense going on in Tampa Bay. They're
like
figuring
I said,
out exactly what they want to do. Tom Brady totally overthrew Gronk on a surefire touchdown at one point. O.J. Howard had a tremendous catch down the right side there on one of those deep bombs, too. And you're starting to see he's figuring out the pieces to that offense. They don't know what they want to do in the backfield with LaShawn McCoy and Fournette. You mentioned
Ronald Jones, yeah.
And so that's another thing. When have you ever trusted a fantasy running back in a Tom Brady-led offense? Other than, like, when was the last time maybe Corey Dillon or Lawrence Maroney? And if you trusted Lawrence Maroney, you were in trouble fantasy-wise. That happened to me once or twice.
If he was your RB1, absolutely. That sunk your team if he was your RB1. Another one, everybody's been high on this rookie. DeAndre Swift has not been doing well, and this week was very evident. 0, and let me repeat, 0 rushing yards for 19 yards receiving. So basically he was a scat receiving back while Adrian Peterson was running for 75 yards and 22 totes.
Adrian Peterson is the best running back on that team, and he should get the bulk of the carries if they want to try to win any games.
And they're trying to get DeAndre Swift involved. It's just it's not panning.
When you mention DeAndre Swift, the first thing that comes to my mind is him dropping the game-winning touchdown catch in Week 1.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, so far, he's a dud.
Hard to have a lot of trust there after a play like that. He's a good player, though. I'd imagine, they'll build on him. They'll use him. Limit those touches. And if you want to win games, I still think Adrian Peterson has a lot in the tank there.
Well, I noticed you didn't have a stud tight end, but I've got a dud tight end this week. He's usually a tight end 1, but this week he was with Lamar Jackson. I'm talking about Mark Andrews. He did not do well last night. 3 catches, 22 yards, had a couple of drops. He could have had a bigger night, but he had a dud night against the Chiefs.
One of those things when you guard a Lamar Jackson-led offense right there with the Ravens, he loves his tight ends. And when he starts scrambling, that tight end's a big target when you're scrambling around and, when he's looking for one of those guys first thing, right?
Right. So, yeah, I mean, that's what I'm doing. Usually, I think maybe the Hayden Hurst deal when they lost him to the Falcons, that might be an issue.
Well, I'm referring more to, like, the defensive strategy. I think it has more to say about the way the Chiefs played it, as far as shutting Andrews down, making sure that he didn't have that look right over the middle. So when he scrambled, he's having to look at some of these other spots that he's not necessarily wanting to pull the trigger on. He's not a great passer outside the numbers yet.
He's not, and that's why I was saying about Hayden Hurst. I mean, you had to game plan for both of them. It was very hard. Now you got just one. So it made it easier for the Chiefs, and the Chiefs, you saw a lot of doubling on Andrews last night. And Hollywood Brown couldn't get it going either. I mean, I mean, I guess if I had to choose a dud fantasy team in general, the Ravens, man.
Yeah, and no disrespect to those guys, though, because they're going to see much better days. Lamar Jackson, absolute beast of a quarterback. I don't mean any disrespect on that. His name. He had a bad game, though, right? And also, I think it also exposes him a little bit to see that he's got some decent weapons around him. Nothing great.
He's nothing great. I mean, maybe they need to call up AJ and AB to come help him. I mean, there's been rumors that maybe, but
I wouldn't go that far.
I wouldn't go that far either. But I'm just saying they're going to need help. It needs help. I mean, as far as a strong juggernaut offense they're supposed to have, it's not there right now.
If they meet a Tennessee Titans team in AFC playoffs, they better bring a little more than that.
We'll meet them later this year if we get over this COVID thing. So I mean,
goodness.
All right, let's talk about. I usually do like doing a contender or pretender, but now I'm going to do some fire or smoke. Now, Ryan, what this is a little segment. We're going to do the SEC teams after week 1. You know, we kind of watch these teams play, all 14 of them, and we're going to get an idea if they're a lit fire team, which that means they're good, or if we see smoke thinking, oh, that might be a fire team, not so much.
So a fire team, or if it's a team that's just blowing smoke up your ass.
Basically.
I got you, Chuck. So I see number 1 on this list is the Florida Gators, the number 3 ranked team in the nation. What do you think there, Chuck? Just from a definite biased opinion. Let's see what you say first. Fire or smoke there? What did you see?
Let me go ahead and run my tongue out a little bit here. I'm going to say absolute fire. I mean, just the way they played the Kyle Pitts kid at tight end. Like I said, if he is a factor the entire year, this offense will be unstoppable. I'm just going to call it like it is. But Trask looked good. Defense has got some issues, I feel. I feel like they have some secondary issues, which is hard for me to say because Florida, to me, has always had that great defense, but it seems like we're seeing a shift more to we're going to see a lot of offensive scoring. And, you know, defense is going to have to step up. But as right now, absolute fire. They're ablaze right now.
Oh, yeah. Florida Gators on fire. And we'll see what they do going forward. The Georgia Bulldogs are on here next. They had to make that quarterback change that we talked about earlier. They did end up pulling off that week 1 victory. Do you think, though, that they're going to actually be a contender? Do you think this team, or do you think that they're actually blowing smoke up our ass here, Chuck?
As of right now, they're a fire team, but not like a blazing fire. But as far as like their resume go, they're good defense. They've got a good running game. It all comes down to one thing: quarterback. JT Daniels is back from injury. They didn't let him clear him for the Arkansas game. It depends whether it's the Stetson kid, or it's going to be JT Daniels. I'm going to say fire right now, but as we go on in the year, if the quarterback in play doesn't improve, that fire is going to go out. So I'm going to say fire for right now. What you got, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm going to say I think they're blowing a little bit of smoke. I don't know what we're going to see with all the turnover with Georgia. You got to factor this in too, and a lot of people aren't talking about this, but no live mascots on the sidelines this year. It's gonna hurt the morale for some of these teams, including any of those teams that may have a little puppy dog running the sideline, including an old bulldog, Uga. Is it Uga that's still down there?
Uga, yeah.
Not going to be able to cheer on those Bulldogs.
It's weird,
not only
man.
that, but with all the turnover, I don't see much coming out of Georgia this year. But you know what? I've been wrong before.
Don't rule out Kirby Smart. I'm just saying he gets it figured out. He's a Saban disciple. He'll get it figured out. Let's talk about my boys, Tennessee Vols. I'm going to start it off. I may be a little biased, but I see fire. I see fire definitely.
You're seeing the reflection of that orange sweatshirt in the window here, Chuck.
Negative. I see fire because I see a good defense. We're seeing a good defense that's going to keep us in games. And it's the same thing with Georgia. It's going to come down with quarterback play. The quarterback play with Garantano has got to improve, which I don't think it is. I think we might see another quarterback down the road if things get a little bumpy. But we've got Mizzou this week. That should be another W. We'll see. But as of right now, our defense, our running game is probably going to be our calling card for our chance to make a difference in this conference. As of right now, a little bit of fire.
We're going to find out real quick. You mentioned Missouri. I don't think that you're going to lose that game. But Missouri, look at they've not been a pushover in the last couple of years in this matchup.
Oh, I'm not saying we're going to beat them to death.
I think Tennessee wins that. Also, the very next week, you got Georgia, and then you got Kentucky, then you got Alabama, then you got Arkansas. So we're going to find out in the next couple of weeks with a lot of these teams. That's a given, right? But Tennessee slate coming up, we'll see real soon. Look, I like to hate on the Vols a little bit here and there. They pulled the victory out in week 1, but any team that has Garantano that you have to lean on, I have a hard time putting a ton of confidence in.
I agree. I agree.
I don't know who's behind him, and I don't know if they were decent enough. Why haven't we seen them already? Because I feel like, look, man, anybody there with the Vols, they've been ready to yank Garantano for a while.
Long time.
Including,
Long time.
Some of his shenanigans, late game shenanigans. We remember those from the last couple seasons, right?
Ugh.
Changing plays on the fly and everything else.
Bringing up bad memories,
Man,
homie.
Look, I hate to say it. I don't know. A lot of times where you see smoke, there's fire. I don't know if that's the case here.
So you're going to say smoke.
I'm going to say smoke on this one.
All right, Kentucky Wildcats lost a tough one against the Auburn Tigers, but they have a lot of promise with Stoops being the coach. I say smoke.
I think we can continue that trend. Smoke here, probably going forward for these next couple of teams.
Yeah, I think we just can skip over the Missouri Tigers. There's not even no fire or smoke. It's just plain. Same thing with Vanderbilt. We might see a little bit of fight. I mean, they put on a good stand against the Texas A&M Aggies, but
there was a little spark in the first half,
and then
pun fully intended, and it fizzled out. Little tiny bit of smoke.
And Will Muschamp, I guess he did get the fuck out of the stadium. And,
you saw the video I sent.
I did, and there is no fire there. It's all complete billows of smoke. My motor's blown up. It's over.
You're probably right. Muschamp's done a good job with some teams you didn't expect a ton out of there at South Carolina. I don't expect a lot out of this team at all. What about Alabama?
Oh, absolutely. Same thing with Florida. I mean, if I had to do a comparison, Florida and Bama are right there with each other as absolute fire teams.
How could you count out Alabama? That team's been scorching hot for a while.
Long time. Auburn Tigers.
I think they're on fire, man. I like what you see there. I don't know if we got the real true test in week 1, but, Bo Nix has returned, and he's got experience. I think they could be pretty good with a pretty good quarterback here at Auburn.
He's beaten Bama. So that's a good start. I mean, he's already built the legend of Bo Nix already in Tigers. So, yeah, I'm going to say fire. Texas A&M, this is my dark horse team. But right now, I'm going to say there's a little match fire. It's like a little itty-bitty. So, as of right now, they played a tough Vanderbilt team. But maybe they can turn around. If they beat Bama this coming week, they're an absolute fire. But Bama's probably right over them right now, just ready to blow out that candle right now.
That's a giant if.
That's a very giant if. I'm going to say right now a little bit of fire. It depends on the matchup with Bama this week.
I can see the smoke from here in Middle Tennessee all the way down there. Texas A&M, I'm not a believer.
So you can see it all the way down at College Station.
Jimbo Fisher going to be in for a bad year, I feel like.
You feel like it? And, man, they've put in a lot of money and time with Jimbo, and it makes you wonder if he's even the guy.
I don't know, man. We're going to find out. Now, the next team, though, I like what I see.
So you think fire?
I think Mississippi State Bulldogs, at least through one game, are scorching hot.
Yeah, they're scorching hot. I mean, Leach got this. It seems like he's got this team on board. J.K. Costello, we'll see more of him during the week. They got Arkansas, so that should be another W to add on. I mean, they were the biggest jumpers in the top 25. They went from unranked to 16th. So I will say fire as well. Ole Miss Rebels, smoke or fire?
Fire jerseys, smoke when it comes to anything to do with defense. Because as good as Florida's offense looked, Ole Miss's defense looked like trash.
They look like butter on a hot knife, man. It was quick, it was clean. But yeah, I like the way you did that. Probably the most fire uniforms of this week and probably the rest of the year, unless we see something else. But
I like those Ole Miss unis.
They were pretty cool.
And Lane Kiffin, he's going to see better days down there.
They were pretty sleek.
But man, I don't know if this is going to be the year. Wait till he gets some recruits in there.
LSU Tigers.
LSU Tigers, man, that's a tough week 1 loss to Mississippi State. Got punched right in the mouth. They do get to rebound pretty well against Vanderbilt, Missouri, but then it's the matchup with Florida. And look, I thought Florida hung around in last year's matchup with the team of destiny in LSU with Joe Burrow. It took about 2 quarters, but Joe Burrow got lit on fire in that second half against Florida, and with a couple of deep bombs took it. But I thought Florida was in that game all the way last year. I think they have a much better chance this year, and I think Florida's going to take it to them. Man, look, I could see LSU stacking up a couple L's the next 5-6 weeks.
True. They had a little fire, but then Leach and the boys went, fire's gone.
I think they're
It's
still
complete
riding
smoke.
a little high off of that national championship, and Coach O, he may still
Go
have
Tigers.
a hangover. I don't know,
Go
man.
Tigers. Go Tigers. That's
Go
all you-
Tigers.
Go Tigers.
And you can't root against Coach O. I would never hate on Coach O.
But, I mean,
I don't know, man. This ain't going to be LSU's
let's just-
year, I don't think. And
let's
that's not
just-
just looking at week
yeah.
one.
I mean, let's just state facts. I mean, they're not the same team as they was last year. Absolutely. Last one, Arkansas, I think we can both agree, complete smoke.
It's pretty smoky.
Pretty smoky. Even though with Felipe Franks driving that car, it's done blowing its motor on arrival.
Yep.
I think it blew its motor, but even before they got it out of the garage.
Let me out of the next exit, please.
Yes, please. All right, let's go ahead and head to breakdown and predictions, and we're going to do something a little bit different. We're still going to do NFL Week 4. We're going to add Week 2 of the SEC. I've got the spreads on those as well. Ryan, which one you want to do first?
Man, we're fresh out of college football talk. Let's go ahead and keep it with that and wrap up with that NFL, man.
Let's do it. SEC. As I mentioned, Texas A&M will travel down to Tuscaloosa, depending on the fans, which I'm sure it's going to be about 10 to 15% capacity. We'll travel down to play Alabama, the number 2 Crimson Tide. I did not get the over and under, but I did get the spread. 17 points is the underdog for Texas A&M.
Opened at 17, and I think you can easily put your money on Alabama here.
So you expect a big blowout?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, okay. I expect Texas A&M put up a better fight, but I think at the end, Bama pulls away.
Cover?
They cover, yeah. Probably the biggest matchup of the weekend. Number 7, Auburn will travel down to Athens, Georgia, between the hedges, and play the Georgia Bulldogs. And they are a 7.5-point favorite.
The Georgia Bulldogs are?
Yes.
I would put my money on the Tigers.
I think, you know what? That was one of my upsets. I've got 2 upsets this week. I'm going to say Auburn beats Georgia in Athens.
I'm right there with you, man. I think Auburn can pull it out, and they're getting 7.5 points.
Right. So, I mean,
Easy money here. I would definitely throw them into a little college parlay and have a little fun with that one.
absolutely. Next one, my Volunteers, the Tennessee Volunteers, number 21, will come back home and play the Missouri Tigers, and they open up as 10-point favorites. Ryan, what you got?
Tennessee, don't burn me here. I think Tennessee can cover this. I think Tennessee can cover this easily. With that being said, Chuck, I don't know. I wouldn't be crazy surprised, but I would put my money on the Vols in this one.
Well, I appreciate that. They should take care of business. The running game should do its thing. I expect at least a 10-point win out of this. So, yeah, Tennessee wins.
If Tennessee's not leading at halftime, do you think Garantano gets benched?
It just depends what happens. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. But as of right now, we should be taking care of business.
Can't think that way, right?
We can't think that way. Don't wish unholiness on me. Another one. Florida returns home at Gainesville, and they'll be waiting on their old ball coach, Will Muschamp, and the South Carolina Gamecocks.
The real old ball coach is going to be up in the press box
right.
there at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. Coach Spurrier, an American legend. But South Carolina and Muschamp returning down there to the swamp, and 18 points is the spread on this right off the bat.
I don't think they cover.
Oh, Chuck, I think they do. I think they beat the shit out of South Carolina. I don't know if Trask throws for 6 more touchdowns, but maybe you see a little bit more get opened up from the running game. You saw they struggled a little bit, as far as last week with you guys there. But seeing the completion percentage that Garantano had, just using him as a little bit of a measuring stick here, if it's any indication, Trask may throw 12 on them.
I think I think they'll win by 1 touchdown. Florida will.
Okay, 7-point game.
It's just Muschamp. It'll make it interesting. We'll see. And here's my second upset of the week. Kentucky will return home up at Lexington, and Old Lane Train will come to town and play the Kentucky Wildcats. They have the Kentucky Wildcats as a 7-point favorite. I think Lane Train goes in and upsets.
I agree with you there, Chuck. That offense looked real good.
They did. And, Kentucky came off a deflating loss against Auburn. They played well most of that game, and then Bo Nix did his thing and pulled Auburn out. Kind of deflating, if it was vice versa and Kentucky won that game, I think Kentucky wins, but I think Ole Miss takes advantage and beats Kentucky.
Agreed. 7-point spread. I think they may double that.
And I don't know about double. I think it'd be about 2 or 3 point game. I don't even think it makes it. So I'm going to say Ole Miss. Mississippi State will stay home. Well, actually go home to Starksville and await the Arkansas Razorbacks. Leach and company are a 17-point favorite.
Well, and they set offensive passing records in his first game as the head coach there at Mississippi State.
Against the defending national champions.
That's big time. And you can say, well, maybe it's a lack of preparation. They didn't exactly know what to expect, but it's Mike Leach. You know what to expect. It's an air raid offense, and no matter what, no matter who he's had, they've been successful. You may know a little quarterback that a lot of people have had a lot of praise for in the NFL with that old Fu Manchu, Gardner Minshew.
Yeah.
He was Coach Leach's quarterback up there at Washington State, put up huge numbers at Washington State. So imagine what he's going to do here, and I think they can cover that 17-point spread, as crazy as it sounds, because, look, Arkansas is just not good.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, get your bucket, get your mop. It's going to be a bloodfest. I think it's going to be bad. I think they're not only going to cover, I think it's going to be in the 60s, man. It could be in the 60, 70-point range. I do not see Leach letting off the gas. He's looking to make a statement, and he's going to make sure that his boys are ready, and I think this is going to be probably the splatter of the week.
Splatter of the week.
So Vanderbilt will remain at home in Nashville and await the defending national championship LSU Tigers, who just come off a deflating loss as well, but they still have them pegged as a 20-point favorite.
I think we got some angry Tigers coming in here. Somebody's poked the Tiger last week. Coach O's finally woken up from that hangover from winning the national championship last week, and I think he's really put some time in the film room. 20 points, probably not even enough whenever you put the line to this game, but yeah, I'd put your money on LSU here.
Yeah, I think this is the cover of the week. I think they cover it and then some. So that's the SEC matchups. Let's go on to the NFL. We'll start with the Thursday nighter. And it's, oh, goodness.
Snooze fest.
Let me hit my snooze. I want to just go sleep through this. I mean, I'm glad football's back, but I've got options now.
So with Denver, New York Jets, as far as the matchup on Thursday night, would it be more interesting if maybe they benched Driscoll and maybe they put in a former Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback there to start at quarterback for Denver? Oh, Blake Bortles?
Blake Bortles, maybe. They did bench him. Driscoll is benched. Ripon, or whatever his name is going to start. Now they're putting quarterbacks in that I've never even heard of versus the Ghostbuster himself, Sam Darnold. Good God Almighty. They're 3-point favorites for the Denver Broncos. The over and under is 40. I don't see them making the over. It's going to be under 40. Ryan.
Do I have to pick a winner of this game?
I really don't know.
So just from everything we've seen, the New York Jets aren't capable of doing anything. Frank Gore may be the best player on their offense right now. And I love Frank Gore. No disrespect to him, but that offense is bad.
But then you got the Hurt Clinic down there in Denver.
Yeah, those guys can't win for losing. Tons of injuries. You hate it. Not a team that would make a huge splash, I don't think, regardless, but I think they would handle the Jets here. I still would have to bet on the Broncos.
I'll say Broncos because of the running game. They got a far better running back.
Did you see the press conference with Darnold after the game? Dude, he looks defeated. He had a busted lip. He wouldn't hardly look up from the podium. Dude, it looks like he is seeing more ghosts than he ever has. He looked like that poor woman from the Blair Witch Project with snot running all out of his damn nose. And he just looked pitiful, man. I felt bad for the guy. And I think playing with the Jets has just ruined the guy.
And that's a shame, too. He had a lot of potential. I think Gase has ruined him.
I think Gase is a terrible coach.
He's
I
out.
think Darnold was not the greatest prospect to bring in there as a franchise quarterback either. But, man, that ship is going down
Hold on,
fast.
I should have did this. Instead of picking the game, let's pick the coach who's going to be out first. Are you going to pick Gase to be out first or Vermingo to be out first?
Gase. It should have been Gase last season.
Yeah, he's gone. I think he's gone by in a couple of weeks.
He should be. And this is really the match to see which one of these teams, because one of these teams is likely to draft Trevor Lawrence, number 1 overall next year.
Yeah. I don't see the Denver doing it because I think they're still hitching with Drew Lock.
I don't know, man. Number 1 pick.
Well, with
Sitting
John,
there,
you don't know.
Elway, he's looking at those long, flowing locks. You know what I mean? Trevor Lawrence slinging that ball there at Clemson. I don't know. It seems like a wet dream there.
It does kind of. But let's go on to the next matchup. And this one's a little bit better, even though it's Indianapolis. Indianapolis Colts will go to Chicago and play the Bears. And surprisingly, the Colts are 2.5-point favorites over and under 41. So Nick Foles is the starting quarterback for the Bears going forward. So, Ryan, I think this should change the spread, to be honest with you. I think the Bears get the win here.
Think the Bears get it?
With Foles, I think this offense has got a lot better all of a sudden. You got a veteran quarterback. Mitch Trubisky did an admirable job. But then when it came down to Atlanta, he was absolutely atrocious. They put Foles in, made the difference, got the win. But yeah, I think the Bears get it done here.
Oh, for sure. And either quarterback in that situation with Atlanta probably pulls it out because that was Atlanta being Atlanta. But Foles put in the right spot at the right time, kind of like he was in Philly a couple years ago. I don't think they're making a run quite like that, but I think Chicago can at least go ahead and win this one, another one over the Colts. And I mean, that would put them at 4-0.
Yeah, that put them at 4-0.
Surprisingly, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I would bet Chicago in this case.
All right, so we're going to go on the next one, and this one is a surprising spread. New Orleans Saints will go up to Detroit and play the Lions, the hapless Lions who have the ageless wonder, Adrian Peterson. The Saints are 4-point favorites, and with a 54 over and under. I think they beat that spread, Ryan.
I think they do, too. I think that spread's low. It seems like it. Anyways, I think too much credit's being given to Detroit here, and I don't think you can give them any kind of Detroit any kind of credit until you get rid of Matt Patricia.
True.
Got to get him out of there. And I mean, he got his first win in, 11 games? They had 11 losses prior to that, and it's surprising he's still in a job.
Yeah, I think like Adam Gase, he's out.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm one of those. I don't like to be one of those that guns for somebody's job, and it's tough to judge somebody that's in a position like that. But man, you just for a defensive coach to be so bad at defense,
that's not a good thing, man. This one could be a potential good matchup of the week. Arizona Cardinals will travel down to Carolina to play the Panthers. Even though no Christian McCaffrey, Mike Davis has done well. Teddy Two Gloves doing some good things down there. Got their first win last week. Could we see an upset this week? I think we'll see the Cardinals rebound in a shootout.
I think the Cardinals is the popular pick here.
Yeah.
And that's who I would pick in this one, too.
You think they get the over 52?
Over 52 of this game? I never bet the under, but if you had to, this may be the spot.
Yeah, I mean, the offense, like I said, McCaffrey's not there, but that Mike Davis running back, he can receive, he can catch, he can run too, and he's a pretty powerful back.
Robbie Anderson, I think, has been the real story of that offense.
Has.
He's been pretty consistent.
Yeah, he has. And Teddy Two Gloves still doing good things down there. So we could be in for a fun game here. And we got the Stash himself, the Stash Boys in Jacksonville. The Jaguars will go and see Joe Burrow, if I can say it right, and the Cincinnati Bengals. And the Bengals are actually favorites in this game, 3-point favorites, over and under 48.
So I think we could see a lot of scoring in this game.
True.
Lots of scoring in this game from Robinson, from Minshew, and those guys with Jacksonville. They've just proven, again, they can't stop anybody on the defensive side of the ball. Same goes with the Bengals, but Burrow, man, he's thrown the hell out of the ball to be a rookie so far, and I think we may see his best game as a pro come right here. I think the Bengals can take this.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's steadily got this team better. I mean, they had to settle for a tie last week against the Eagles, but it just goes to show they're progressively getting better in each game.
How many quarterbacks do you think got their first tie before they got their first win?
Not many. I don't think not many. But I'm going to say the Bengals actually get their first win, and they meet the spread.
Sounds good to me. Beating the Jaguars, not a tall feat.
Not tall feet at all. The Cleveland Browns at the Dallas Cowboys. The Browns are rolling, 2 straight wins. The running game is going strong, but they face a pretty juggernaut offense, so this should be a fun game. 4.5-point favorites for the boys, and 55 is the over and under.
Well, we mentioned in the last matchup, not a lot of defense, and you can say the same when it comes to the Cowboys. They have been annihilated as far as that secondary. Dak Prescott keeping him in a lot of those games. That offense is looking good. He's building a rapport with Lamb. Gallup's back for him, right?
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
looking good. Zeke still doing his thing. Cleveland offensively is looking better and better, and I told you coming into this season that I trust Cleveland's offense for whatever reason, and I drafted a little bit heavy on them in a couple of leagues. This is a tough matchup, though, for me. You know what I mean? I don't see the Cowboys losing this one, but I would be entertained if they did.
I think the Cowboys get the win here just by the receiving core alone. The Browns, even though they got 2 wins, their secondary is just not up to the task to face off with this bunch here.
We're going to see. It's going to be a matchup, Baker and Dak, and the running backs there for Cleveland, maybe the best running back tandem in the entire league.
Right. Next game, there is no spread. Even though I have one here, Las Vegas took down the spread, took down the over and under because of Minnesota possibly being under COVID protocol. But they're saying the show goes on, so we'll still talk about it. Minnesota Vikings travel down to Houston and play the Texans. So we'll just pick who you got there.
Because I have to pick a winner in this one, I'm going to go with the Texans.
I'm going to go with Minnesota, man. They're brewing for one. And I can just see Houston just continually downward spiral, and they're getting further and further down in the division that you do not need to get down on because Colts and the Titans are starting to pull away.
Yeah, we'll see as far as how that AFC South picture is going to play out. Again, I'm a big believer here, and we're going to see how those Titans keep it rolling. But Houston, Jacksonville, Indianapolis, not anything special. I would expect a lot more out of Houston than either one of those other 2 teams, though. Here's where, if they drop this game, it's time to start panicking as a Houston Texans fan.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to get plenty out of Dalvin Cook. You saw a little flash out of Jefferson, who they're going to obviously target a lot more this week in that Minnesota offense, but I don't see the Texans dropping this one.
True. I see them getting beat and just dropping further into abysmal abyss. Next one could be the blowout of the week. Seattle Seahawks travel down to Miami, play the Dolphins.
Not so fast. You never know now. This is where things could get a little crazy.
Well, Russ has been cooking a lot, and I'll tell you what that spread's cooking. 6.5-point favorites for the Seahawks, 43 over and under.
When I say crazy, you'd be crazy as hell not to jump on a line like that. 6.5 points. Seattle going to Miami? You know, I'm kind of kidding whenever it comes to the start of what we talked about here with Seattle-Miami. I think Seattle's going to take it to them. But you've heard of trap games, and you can't overlook anybody. And I don't think Seattle's capable of doing that. But, you know, every once in a while, Seattle can get off to a slow start. We'll see what happens because, you know, it's a Miami team that's not very good. A lot of young guys. It's a depleted roster. But some of these guys come to play. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they're playing for respect. We'll see. I don't think it'll be as big of a blowout as some people may predict it to be, but when they put it at 6.5, Seahawks are easily going to win by 6.5.
Yeah, I believe it. Even though they're rolling off a good win over Jacksonville, which is not saying much, they're going to face 100 times better offense than the Jacksonville Jaguars. Plotted effort to getting their first win last week, but it's not going to happen this week. Seahawks take care of business, and Russell continues to be Chef Russ and cook.
And Fitzmagic going to have to play an actual defense this
He's
week.
going to have to pull on his Houdini act to pull this out, and I don't think he's going to do it. The only Houdini act that's going to happen is when the ball is on the ground a lot. So we'll see it. So we also got the L.A. Chargers traveling down to Tampa Bay to play the Buccaneers. Buccaneers are a 7.5-point favorite. Over and under, 45.
Could be a fun game. Could be closer than some people might think. 7.5 is a big spread. You know, I don't know when it comes to, we're going to see what we have out of Herbert in his third game getting to start. I think Tampa Bay is expected to cover this with the talent they have on that team, and I think they can. And if, I'm trying to be smart with my money when it comes to betting, I'm betting my money on Tom Brady.
I am too. I don't see him meeting the spread, though. I think Hubert has got a good rhythm with that offense. Could be a possible shootout. I don't see him meeting the spread, but I do see him meeting the over and under. I think he'll go over 45. It has to. It's going to be a lot of scoring. It's going to be fun. Next game, this breaks my heart, but there is no spread on this because of the COVID situation with the Titans. If the show goes on, let's say we'll play the scenario, Ryan, that they'll play Sunday and the Titans have to do the walkthrough Saturday and have to play Sunday. So, Ryan, who do you got between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Titans with the situation that we have?
It's a weird situation. I'm trying to keep all of that out of sight, out of mind. Without all that being said, I wouldn't bet on a game with any kind of COVID delay on it at this point. What's the point? I try not to bet on my teams as is when it comes to throwing Titans into some of these. I think the Titans can win. I think as a team that's clicking, has the right chemistry, especially to play against a team, like the Pittsburgh Steelers here. But look, the Pittsburgh Steelers offense looks really good.
They do.
We're going to have to bring our A game, and that secondary is going to have to step up. Jonathan Joseph looked like a liability last week. Adoree Jackson, we need him back in the most desperate way right now for that secondary. And Byard, looked a little bit, he was lacking a little bit in that last game. He got tested by Kirk Cousins of all people. But, I think the Tennessee Titans can definitely beat the Steelers here. And with a 1-point spread, why not throw that money the Titans' way?
Why not? But like I said, Las Vegas has took down the line for right now until they find out what's going on. But I'm going to say the Titans get it done, even if they have to do a walkthrough Saturday. Vrabel's seems like these guys are in tune. The chemistry's there. They're going to face a more stiffer defense than they have ever faced this season thus far. But I think with the play action working in our favor, kicking games better, I see a Titans pulling out a squeaker here. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they won by one again.
Kicking game at an all-time high right now.
Is at an all-time high, and let's hope it stays there.
With 6 field goals, I think the most we had in the game was 8. And wasn't that Baronis back in there? Was that against Houston? Was it against Houston?
Yeah, it was like 8, man. It was
Rest in peace, Rob Baronis.
Rest in peace, brother. Next game. Gosh, Lord, this is probably the biggest spread of the week. We got the New York Giants, which the Little Giants. But anyways, they will travel down to the new Los Angeles arena down there, and they'll play the Rams. 13-point favorites, 4.5 on the over and under, Ryan.
Man, when you look at the Giants and the Rams, a 13-point spread, they're playing in that fancy new stadium out there in L.A. Easy pick, L.A. Rams.
L.A. Rams, they did get Devontae Freeman. Devontae Freeman will get a full week with the offense.
No Saquon Barkley, though. That's all you need to say.
Yeah, I know. But it'll make it interesting, but it will not be even close to being enough. Los Angeles Rams take care of business.
Agreed.
So, Buffalo Bills. Oh, this ought to be a fun game. Buffalo Bills will travel to Las Vegas and play the Raiders. That'd be fun.
Yeah, this should be a good matchup right here. And I think we'll get to see a lot more of what to expect from both of these teams going forward with a matchup like this. It's kind of an interesting matchup. I would pick the Bills here. You can't doubt Josh Allen and Diggs and what that offense has really got going on. And, look, the Raiders, they look pretty good too.
Yeah.
Gruden was a laughingstock of the league when he first got there with some of the moves that he was making, but things are starting to come together for him.
Yeah, I mean, he's a smart guy for some reason, and you're starting to see those pieces come together, like the Josh Jacobs pick. If it wasn't for the Mac trade, that wouldn't have been possible. So, I mean, the bottom line is the Raiders, I feel like, are on the right track. One of the better teams in the division to challenge the Chiefs, but maybe not right now. But the Bills, man, are totally fire on offense. Josh Allen playing on an MVP-like level, maybe not on the level of Russell Wilson and Patrick Mahomes, but he's playing on a level to making the Bills a very competitive team. So I say yes, Bills get the win here against Las Vegas. Wouldn't surprise if they beat the over and under there. So, Philadelphia, oh goodness gracious, the bad coach team, Philadelphia Eagles will play the San Francisco 49ers, also the Hurt Locker of the Bay Area. 6.5-point favorites for the 49ers, 45 over and under.
It's hard to pick Philly, but I think you have to pick Philly because you think that they're going to rebound at some point. You saw big numbers from Carson Wentz last week, but it's because he had to keep chucking the rock. But San Francisco's decimated by injuries. I think we're going to see it catch up with them this week, and I think Philly could pull this one off.
So you're going to say Philly, probably your upset of the week, pretty much.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think it's a huge upset because, again, the Niners, man, they're not playing with a full deck here.
All right. I like it, but I'll stick with the 49ers. I don't see them meeting the spread or the over and under. We'll stick with the 49ers. The Baltimore Ravens, coming off a bad loss Monday night, will travel to Washington to play the Washington football team. Also leading the NFC East, but that's not going to save them enough because the Ravens are going to be angry. I'm going to see a lot of scoring from the Ravens side, maybe not so much for the Washington football team.
Yeah, you would think the Ravens would be fired up, pissed off for greatness after the matchup here with the Chiefs this last week, which is a bit of a letdown, I would think, from a lot of people. A lot of experts picking the Ravens to win in that game. But we did see a pretty good showdown. They did come back, made it a game towards the end. The Ravens going to be fired up, and they're not going to lose to this Washington football team. The line's at 13.5, meaning they're going to have to win by 2 touchdowns. I don't see that being a problem. Do you, Chuck?
I don't see that being a problem either. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a 17, 20-point win. The over and under I find an issue with. I don't see it getting to that point, but they'll make the spread. This is a good one. The Cam Newton and the New England Patriots will travel down to see old Pat Mahomes. Excuse me, Miss Mahomes. I don't mean to call your son Pat. I mean Patrick Mahomes will face the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are actually only a 7-point favorite. I think I would actually take that over, man. That's not a bad one.
53.5?
53.5 on the over and under.
I think so too, man. Hammered that over. Put your money on the Patriots, though. 7 points. You're giving the Patriots 7 points. Belichick preparing for this Chiefs team. Man, you know he's staying up all night licking his chops because, look, if there's anything Bill Belichick enjoys doing more than probably anything else in the world, right? Game planning for these special QBs, for these offenses that are high-powered. He gets off on it, man. That's Belichick for you, and he's going to handle the defensive side of the ball. You're going to see that offense get going again, I think, and Cam Newton's playing good, man. They've got things rolling. I think New England can pull off the upset.
I'm with you, Ryan. But if there's a defense that can shut down Patrick Mahomes, it's the Pats defense. Because of Belichick, his scheming and planning, they've been getting after a lot of people. They actually gave Russ a hard time during their meeting with him. So I expect the same thing with Patrick Mahomes. I do not see him struggling bad, but it's not going to be easy like the Ravens game was. I mean,
for sure.
I think the Pats get the win here.
Well, that and the way McDaniels has the offense going and the way they've kind of structured the offense around Cam Newton, the way that they're playing, man, they can adapt to anything, and that's the strength of Bill Belichick teams, right?
Yeah.
That offense adapts to whatever they have to adapt to. If they need to score points, they're going to adapt and they're going to throw the ball. If they need to keep it a tight game and maybe keep that quarterback on the sideline, that maybe what they try to do in this game, I think Mahomes will dictate that a little bit by how he comes out of the gate. But I think New England can pull this off, and if you're giving them 7 points, I'm putting my money there.
That's a good bet right there, Ryan. And we got the main event on Monday night. We've got the Atlanta Falcons playing against the hot Green Bay Packers. The two Aarons tearing it up, man.
They sure are.
They're tearing it up. And they come out as a 7.5-point favorite with a 58 over and under. Ryan, what you got, man? What you got on this one?
58 points, hit that over for sure. You never bet the under anyways, right? Also, the Falcons, Man, they look abysmal, right? You're going to see a lot of garbage time stats, I think, from the Falcons in this one, but I think you're going to see them in a losing effort against the Packers. Aaron Rodgers pissed off for greatness. Look, they drafted the young kid. That first-round pick, they used it primarily just to light a fire under Aaron Rodgers this year, and it's working.
And he is playing with a authority. And he's doing it, making Alan Lazard a freaking stud on that side of the ball. They dominated a New Orleans defense that's actually no slouch with no Devontae Adams to help them. Jeez Louise, can we get an amen that Aaron Rodgers is still a stud quarterback, dude? I mean, it doesn't hurt that you got a good stud running back behind you with Aaron Jones, but to me, maybe the Atlanta Falcons need to get behind to actually win some games.
I don't see that logic working, Chuck.
I'm just saying.
Bold strategy there, Cotton.
Well, let's just see if it plays out. But the Falcons, I just don't understand. They've got so much talent on the offensive side of the ball. You know they're capable of scoring. This defense, and what makes it even worse, Dan Quinn is a defensive-minded coach, and you can't tell me you can't close it out. You can't close it out with your defense.
I think they've made a lot of real bad personnel decisions on the defensive side of the ball that's really accumulated into what we see now. And I really like Dan Quinn as a coach. As far as a defensive coach, as a head coach, he's a total bonehead. He can't manage a game to save his life.
Yeah, I mean, it's heir apparent.
He may be the first coach fired this year.
I think Gase is the first one fired.
He should be the first one fired, but also getting pretty close to deserving that with the epic way that he's lost some of these games, Dan Quinn.
And believe it or not, the Falcons are actually still in the race for the NFC South. They're only separated by a game and a half to the Tampa Bay Bucs. So, I mean, it's not totally out of reach, but
we are only going into week 4.
We are only going into week 4, but you don't need to get too behind because you know the New Orleans Saints are going to catch up pretty quick. I think they start this weekend, but the Falcons, they're going to get pummeled by the Packers for sure.
I agree with that one, man. I don't think we're going on too big of a limb there, Chuck.
No, I'm not going to. I will never go on a limb with the Falcons ever. All right, closing thoughts, Ryan. I'm going to let you start on this, brother. What do you got for your closing thought of the night?
Closing thoughts. The biggest thing on my mind, the COVID situation with the Titans. I hope that all sorts itself out in the best way possible. You know, as far as that goes, no more spreading of that. Hopefully, you know, and for all the guys' health and all that stuff too. But as a football fan, look, I want to see them play. We're 3-0 for the first time in a long time. Even if they have to move that game to Monday night, man, look, I'm cool with that. I love a second Monday night game anyways, especially when my boys are playing on Monday night.
Yeah.
But with this COVID and stuff, all the Corona bros, stay away from our football. Also, I can't wait. We've done a lot of this during the debate. I can't wait to get home and see how this debate panned out. I'm sure it was a total shit show.
Is Joe Rogan there?
No, Joe Rogan didn't. No, they should have got him to moderate it, I'm sure, because usually those moderators are total idiots and just ask the dumbest questions as far as that goes. And with these two, you need a moderator that's going to be able to jump in there and maybe separate the two. And you maybe need that MMA background like Joe Rogan has.
Well, bring Dana White with you. You know, just kind of like stand there like, you know, stand there, oop, easy boys,
There were
easy
tons
boys.
of prop bets going into this one, too. Like how many times he would mention Sleepy Joe, just all the different things. You know, maybe how many times old Joe may nod off. But back to sports, man. Look, MLB playoffs. Let's go Braves.
Yeah, I was about to say, you got the playoffs there. My closing thoughts, same thing with you, Ryan. The COVID situation, you know, it's scary to see. You hate to see it be your team, but it seems like the NFL is following the right steps. They're prepared for this. Seems like the show is going to go on. We've seemed like we have identified all the people that have the COVID-19. We're putting them on the list, and they're away. Let's just hope we can get things going. And also, seeing college football coming back almost in full swing, seeing the heart of the college football, which is the SEC conference, actually back. And then also, we're going to see Big Ten eventually come back. We're going to see the Pac-12. It lightens my heart so very much to see college football almost back at full strength. So, spring 2021, suck it. You ain't getting no football. It's staying where it deservedly stays in fall 2020. So, I am very happy. We're in full swing of MLB baseball. The finals are here. So what a time to be alive for sports. And folks, if you follow us on Facebook, continue to listen to our stuff. We'll send out some more pictures and whatnot. If you have a request of a segment you want us to try to shoot for, we'll be glad to. We have our Twitter page, which is at Run and Shoot Pod 1. That is Run and Shoot Pod 1. So give us a shout at Twitter, and we'll like to listen to your tweets. Also, we have our YouTube page where our content comes out on. Visit Run and Shoot Podcast on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button and that like button at the same time as you do. And Ryan, do you got anything else before we close it out?
That's all I got, man.
That's all I got. And if there's nothing else, we're going to run it on down, take a knee, and head to the house. I am Chuck.
Ryan here as we take that victory formation.
That's right, boys. So let's take it to the house. And this is the Run and Shoot Podcast. Until next time, my friends, we'll see you around.
Good stuff, Chuck.